you so much for listening to the one and only What's on Sports podcast. For those of you watching us live, we do broadcast live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10:30 on Facebook and on YouTube. My name is John Tedor. They call me the Sports Trader. We'll be talking a little bit about sports, a little bit about gambling, and a lot about the Super Bowl today. And joining me from the What's on Sports website, his name is Lance Fernandez. Lance, how are you?
I'm doing good, John. Finally, we're just days away from the big game. I can't wait. Maybe I wouldn't even sleep before the game itself. Time difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, they call Lance a sports nerd. Throughout the show, Lance will be giving us lots of really cool little sports tidbits and things like that. If you guys want to join in throughout the show and make comments, excuse me, if your comments are relative and cool, we'll be more than happy to put them on the screen and address them. We have a couple things we do want to talk about before we talk about the world of the Super Bowl. And one of these things just popped up on my news feed, so we made a quick graphic for it. My buddy, Lebron James, just came out and was complaining about the All-Star game, and he said, I have zero energy and zero excitement about an All-Star game this year. I don't even understand why we're having an All-Star game. Lance, before we dive into football, I just want to say something really quickly. LeBron James, to me, is sports. I mean, all of sports combined together. He is sports' biggest asshole. I mean, this guy will just jump on anything he sees and make a comment. Now, a few other NBA players said something about an All-Star game, and they didn't want to play. And I believe that their concern was over safety. We're already playing these games. Is there a reason for us to play an all-star game where there is a chance where we could all get sick? Should we take the least amount of chances possible, or should we play an all-star game? And to me, that's a great argument. LeBron's argument that I'm too tired and I don't have the energy is probably the worst argument that you could make. This is the exact argument that you make whenever you're a spoiled billionaire or a spoiled multi-hundred millionaire and you just don't want to give the fans a good show. This, to me, is ridiculous. And LeBron James is known for this. He sees something, he's got to make a comment. People ask him something. He doesn't have the internal strength to say, I really don't have a comment on that. Or he doesn't have the internal strength to say, that's what they're paying us for. Part of our contract is that we have to play an all-star game. That's part of my contract. You don't understand why you're playing it? Because it's part of your goddamn contract. Like, how confusing is that? Like, I don't want to start work at 6 a.m. every day. But if somebody's paying me to start work at 6 a.m. every day, that's the time I start work. I don't understand this argument. It just goes to what I've been saying for a long time, which is that I feel that these players have too much power. They have got too much control. And the NBA in particular is going down a really, really bad path, I believe, with letting these players have too much control. I know you're a huge NBA fan. I wanted to say that. You can give me your opinion. You can tell me I'm wrong, but that's how I feel. I don't feel you should say you're too tired to play the game.
Yeah, indeed, especially if it becomes a privilege, granted that there are only like 15 active rosters per team and you have 30, so you only have 450 spots of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And what essentially is tiring about an all-star weekend, it's really like days of just pleasure and fun for you. You get to clown around other players. You're not really playing like game, but you're just there to, participate in the proceedings. Otherwise, you might be fined by the league office. So I don't see what is tiring about the All-Star weekend itself, because it's supposed to be fun, All-Star.
Yeah, I can see the argument where the players would say, listen, for me, you look at basketball as fun. You and I would go outside and shoot a game of basketball and think we were enjoying ourselves, getting some exercise, playing a game we enjoy. For these guys, they do it for a living. And I understand that at some point, the game becomes a job. I totally get that. But as part of your job, the All-Star game is part of it. So to say that I'm too tired, to say that I'm just, look, I get LeBron may be a special case because, they played longer than anybody else. The season started, earlier for them than it would for other teams because they went all the way to the championship. That's part of what it is to be a champion in the NBA. It's an unfair system where you don't get the same rest everybody does because you play a lot longer. because the NBA playoffs extend far longer than any playoffs in any other major sport. I get it. But at the same time, coming out and saying this out loud publicly continues to make LeBron James look like the biggest asshole in sports. It just never stops for him. And it just never stops. And I so wish that this guy could just understand that the things he says are absolutely positively inflammatory to other people. People see these things, regular people like us who have to go to work no matter what's going on. And he just says, I don't see the point. I don't have the energy for it this year. What? Isn't he on some type of like minutes restriction throughout the year already? Doesn't he already play only, so many minutes a game? Aren't they already taking care of him in that fashion? And is he going to play the whole All-Star game? Or is he going to go out there with the best players in the world and give us, the fans, the show that we wait for every year? I will say, out of all the All-Star games, I think the NBA All-Star game is the best All-Star game there is. The Pro Bowl is horrible. It's one of the biggest wastes of time. I never even watch it anymore. It's a total waste of time. I will occasionally watch Major League Baseball All-Star game. The NHL All-Star game is usually not great, but the NBA All-Star game, I mean, those guys might score 200 points on each side. Very little defense until the very end. Last year's All-Star game was fantastic. I couldn't wait to watch it this year. For them to come out and say that they don't want to do it because they don't feel like it, to me, is a slap in the face to the game. Just my opinion. I wanted to get it out there. This podcast will be about the Super Bowl today. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl, but I thought we would start the podcast by just pissing off everybody. So the first thing I was going to do was call LeBron James the biggest asshole in sports.